Disclaimer: the content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they may have, and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. And now...
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children. That's the last thing we want to do. We don't want to scare anybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ben and Amy on The Heavy Truth.
Welcome in.
Hi, welcome in.
Welcome to The Heavy Truth.
Yes.
Season
welcome.
2.
I'm Ben.
I'm Amy.
How are you?
Good. How are you? How have things been going?
You. Good. Happy fall.
That's right. Happy fall.
Yeah.
I think I'm ready for it.
Are you? Mm-hmm. Why?
It's just been hot. I know I'll have some haters for that, but I like sweaters and jeans and not be sweaty all the time.
True.
Right?
No.
I mean, I like warm, and I'm sure I'm going to regret saying that when it's, 10 below zero with, tons of snow, but I still do like winter. I just don't like people
You don't
driving.
like people stop right there.
I don't like people driving in the snow. I can drive in the snow.
Oh.
I don't like other people because
Producer Mike, is that true? Can Amy drive in the snow? Yes.
I'd say, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But there's so many people who can't, right?
Oh, for sure.
So that's where I get irritated is the driving in the snow. But I don't mind it. Do you like snow?
Yeah, I do like snow. I don't like having to snow blow the driveway or something like that. But yeah, it's beautiful to begin with, right? But once it turns that slushy, gray, ugly,
Yeah.
overcast days, then, but I mean,
Yeah.
kills all the big bugs up here, so we don't got to have them like they do in the South. No offense to those people in the South. I'm from the South. But stuff that looks like the size of a plum doesn't fly around here.
The
Right.
flying cockroaches.
Yeah,
saw palmetto bugs. It's a flying cockroach.
It's a roach, ma'am. Yes, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, none of that.
Yeah,
But,
we saw those in Denver when we were there.
ooh, no. Nope.
We and the other thing that happens in wintertime is that, people start to
Hibernate.
and not exercise as much.
Yeah.
So this episode, we are going to be talking about a topic that Ben and I deal with on a daily basis. And that's the obesity treatment. And what is the cost of that? You know?
Yeah, because, right, yeah, everything revolves, especially in, when we're pertaining to obesity, everything is a cost, right? Nothing's for free. Coupons always sound great, but there's always a catch. But yeah, everything's a cost. And at what cost do people? What do people do? What ends will they go to get the treatment that they seek, or get the treatment that they want, or get the treatment that they believe that they should be getting, right, or that they want?
Right. Or honestly, it's the debate of how is this even going to be treated,
Right.
and how obesity as a disease is not seen as a disease process,
No, right.
which is upsetting to us and for our patients. And, they come to see us for that reason. And then when other people, whether it's family, whether it's other clinicians, whatever it may be, they just don't feel supported. And then we get to the insurance companies who don't see it as an issue and don't want to cover any treatment for it.
Employers opt out of the treatment of obesity.
Right. And the idea behind that obesity is a personal problem, or they're just, people that struggle are eating too much and they're not exercising. It's sad. And many a times, I feel like I'm a therapist and people come in to see me and they're so upset. And I appreciate the fact that they can, really put themselves out there with me, because we are the last resort, I think, a lot of the times. But it's just sad that they have to get there.
No, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And, it's always such a big debate, right? When it comes to obesity, right? Treatment, like you said, they don't see it as a chronic disease. But then at what point do you say treatment is okay, right? Once you become diabetic, once you have a heart attack, once you have a stroke, once you have sleep apnea issues, once you, although can't do your own, activities of daily life, then it's going to become an issue. So
Yeah.
why is it not recognized as an issue now? It is a chronic disease. We know that's a chronic disease state, right? We don't tell people because you have high blood pressure, you can't have medication, or because you're diabetic, you can't have, the insulin that's required. Why are we telling people that are obese you can't have the treatment that you need, that is medically necessary to
Right.
help prevent
Absolutely.
that
And then
avalanche of stuff?
going above and beyond, people have cancer, people need a knee replacement, or, they have, let's just say, I don't know, they've been in an accident, right? So cancer, so we're not going to treat your cancer. We're not going to give you the therapy that you need after an accident or after maybe a joint replacement. No, just go ahead and deal with the pain.
Right.
So that is where, you're preaching to the choir when people start talking about treatment options and obesity. And it is kind of funny. This is anytime I'm out, and I know you're the same, when we are out and about in a public setting, whether it's locally or vacation or business trips or whatever, I do not let anybody know what I do.
No, same. No.
And for multiple reasons. I don't want to be involved. I want to just be. Now, of course, if there was something happening that was right next door, and I would do that. But I mean, I'm going to let someone else offer up their assistance before I am, right? But where I'm going with this is when we're out and let's just say commercial comes on TV for Zepbound, let's just say, because now we have those now.
All those commercials, yeah.
And then I hear someone talking about something, or they'll bring it up to me like, oh, you see this? Now they're doing blah, blah, blah. And I just see Mike. He's like, oh boy, you just opened up a big can of worms.
Oh, yes.
Because then
my husband does the same.
I'll just kind of then go off like, I'm not going to bring it up, but well, you're the one who just did that.
Yeah.
So, because people just don't recognize it as that. And, they've never had to deal with any weight issues or anything. So, yeah, I'll say my mind, and then they're probably like, oh man, probably shouldn't even said anything to her.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I do the exact same. I'm like, I'm not going to lecture you or tell you about, sit down and have a chit chat with you about what I do or things like that. But right, you're going to bring that up to me. I'm probably the last person you should have brought it up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Because you and I are both, big advocates. We struggle with weight issues all of our lives. And we understand the bias, what is it, like the stigma behind obesity as well as can be a big problem.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, honestly, once you've gained weight, losing it is not as simple as just cutting calories and moving more. There's definitely a metabolic component linked to that. So your metabolism completely tanks. And then, what happens is you don't lose as much weight as you think you would lose. And even if you've lost weight previous, then you're still not going to lose as much weight. People are like, well, I lost, 30 pounds, 20 years ago, and I could do it in a flash. Well, right. But now we're 15 years fast forward, or 20 years, you're not going to lose at the same pace, because every time you go up and down, your metabolism is really taking a beating, and it doesn't work the same. So not only that, your appetite has increased.
Right.
So that happens as well. So your metabolism's slower, your appetite increases, and what happens? It's hard to stick to anything.
Right.
Right?
And your environment has changed more than probably what you were 15, 20 years ago when you were, in college or a newlywed or living under mom and dad's roof.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
hopefully that has changed from 20 years ago, right?
Right. So your body just holds on to all this extra energy, and then what's that? It just stores it. So then you just
Yeah.
store fat.
Yep.
So, there could be multiple episodes on all of that metabolic dysfunction that goes on. But bottom line, the more times that you lose
Gain
weight
and lose and gain and lose.
each subsequent time, you're going to have a harder time doing that.
Right.
So sometimes, and a lot of times when people have come to us, they've done this multiple times.
Yes.
So they need something more than just guidance from a dietitian or whatever. They may need some medical intervention.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that's medications, whether that's bariatric surgery, combination of both.
Mm-hmm. Which you can do. Let me get that. People get that out of your mind. There's not an either or. You don't have to do either meds or bariatric surgery, right? A combination,
Right, absolutely.
is actually can be recommended, right?
Yeah, and I mean, people may be on medications prior to surgery, have surgery, and then after some time, if they haven't, if they've stalled out or they start to regain or something, that's normal.
Yes.
It's normal that happens, and it's normal to treat it because obesity, we have to continue to treat it because there may be some treatments that just don't work anymore for you, and it's okay, so you haven't failed necessarily at all.
Again, that's that stigma that, you've lost all the weight, you've treated the disease. You haven't. You've managed it, right? Like your diabetes, you may be off all of the medications, but you're still a type 2 diabetic. Now you're just diet controlled.
Right.
Something like that, right?
So like when you, see patients who their obesity is no longer in their chart or their, diabetes is no longer in their chart, I just so quickly reactivate those problems, and
history of.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, again, there's still a lot of progress that needs to be made with everybody, but other clinicians and family and friends and everyone who need to really, accept it as a
disease. But really the point, right, is we want, it's prevention and treatment, right? Those are two different things, right? And so with obesity, we focus on preventing things with lifestyle changes, management like that. But then there are actual treatments and interventions in order to help treat the disease, right? Like you talked about bariatric surgery, medications, but a lot of that isn't covered.
Right.
And then that's where we say again, at what cost do patients try to help themselves? And it's mind-blowing how much some of these medications cost out of pocket or without insurance or even with insurance, right? I mean, but then you and I have always joked, or not, I shouldn't say joke, we've talked about ourselves like, I'm very open that I do take one of the weight loss medications, and I'm thankful that the insurance that I have does cover it. And what happens if the insurance would suddenly stop covering it? What would I do? Would I turn to compounded medications? Would I pay out of pocket? I don't know, but I'd find a way. I mean,
I say desperate times call for desperate measures, for sure. I don't prescribe compounded meds only because, I'm not familiar with them, to be completely honest.
Right.
I haven't done enough research to find out if there are any reputable pharmacies out there. But then bottom line, I don't know what they're compounded with.
Right.
So that makes me very nervous. And there's a lot of lawsuits pending, I think. I mean, it's all we keep hearing about is, pending lawsuits with these big drug manufacturers who's put all this money into, developing these medications. And I get that, and again, the costs are very expensive. But, they've put all this time and effort into, and now people are taking the quote unquote active ingredient out of it, the peptide or whatever. And I don't know how much of that peptide is in there. What are they compounding it with? I don't agree with it.
Right.
Because again, it's a safety thing for my patients. So, but not to say that I like I don't allow my patients to go to a compounding pharmacy.
You just don't prescribe it. That's up to them.
Right. That's up to them. And they can continue following me. I give them all the options that they have as far as what's out there, as far as branded medications. But, it's still super expensive, and that needs to change as well, as far as really what the manufacturer charges, what the insurance companies provide, or what coverage they provide. It's just upsetting, honestly.
It is upsetting, and it's really crazy that the insurance companies and the employers and things like that are now making all of these weird
requirements,
right?
Yeah.
It used to be a certain BMI or a comorbidity. Now it's a higher BMI. Oh, and we're going to send you this scale. Oh, and you have to work on all this, and you have to do all of this and all of this, and then maybe we'll then cover some of the medication. I thought most recently it was funny, not funny, I should say. Patient, their insurance didn't cover the medication, but they would cover it if the patient was in a 1-year supervised weight loss program with monthly visits. And after 12 months, if they've lost at least 3% of their body weight, then they could qualify for medication coverage if their BMI was still at 35 or greater.
Is this a commercial plan?
Yes.
Wow. I haven't seen that one.
And by the way, it wasn't, they had been with me already for 6 months. That didn't include that. That's from the point where they were now trying to get the medication to be a year from now, that they would have to be in a structured program.
It didn't count that they've already been with you?
No. Mm-hmm. And by the way, they had been on the medication already for several months, and now this was their new requirement, so their medication was not going to be covered. So,
do you think this is a ploy by like the insurance company to gain some control back from like Eli and Novo?
Maybe.
To have them negotiate the price?
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting take, Mike, for sure. I think it's
a lot of loopholes that they just keep adding more, like you say. So
oh yeah.
I had 2 last week.
Yeah. I think it's a way to not have to pay for these meds. They can start disqualifying people. Oh, sorry. But then what's going to happen? Here's what I thought to my mind, and I said to someone else. Okay, so after a year you've been on this, you've lost 3% of your body weight, and now you qualify for the med. Now they're going to say, well, you've done 3% on your own. Maybe you don't need the med. They're hoping is that you fall below that BMI that they're requiring at that point.
I think what they're hoping is that statistically, probably this is a larger demographic of people who don't follow through with things.
Mm-hmm, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No one's going to do that for a full year if they're not getting any medication. Right. So then they're going to screw it. And then we're like, oh, there's check. Now we only have, we started off with 100. Now we only have 75 people to wear it. Now we only got 25 people got to wear it. Oh, now none. But there's going to be a handful that'll stick it out.
So this is new stuff coming. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because like I said, that's new. You did not tell me that.
That's new.
And I had 2 specifically last week. I'll give you my example. Were you done with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm done with that.
I would be done with that too. Absolutely. But
what time will you be here, Ben?
Yeah, right.
What time?
I'm going to burn that down. No, I'm kidding.
I had someone who was doing well on a medication, had lost 15% of their presenting body weight, and started with meeting qualifying labs, or not labs, but weight and BMI, everything qualified. Now, it was kind of on the cusp a little bit, but then I get a notice for prior auth was due up again, and resubmit it, and it was denied. Well, patient had qualified before, had lost 15%, which normally they say 4 to 5%, you have to lose. And then I get the denial letter back saying that at baseline, so when we first did the initial prior auth, patient had to have a BMI of 32 with 2 comorbidities And, well, of course, mine didn't meet that because they weren't a 32 at start and only had one comorbidity. So patient's like, what do I do? Like, I'm doing so great. I've lost, almost 50 pounds. I'm down 15% of my presenting body weight, off cholesterol medication, like so many good things. And now it's like,
Yeah.
they
it's like a game.
Yeah, they changed the requirements to make it harder. I was just furious last week, and so I appealed it because I will appeal ones that I know that I'm very not passionate about, but I'm not going to appeal something that is a plan exclusion. We've talked about that before already. If it is something that it's covered, but now I need my 2 cents to whoever I'm need to appeal it to. An hour and 15 minutes I spent on this appeal. The first maybe 25 minutes came from an individual on the other line, although very nice, had no clue about medical terminology.
None.
Zero.
They usually don't have any healthcare background, the people that answer the phones at these insurance companies.
I'll have to say, of all like the appeals and calls that I've done for that, this is the first one who, again, very nice. She was spelling all of the medical diagnoses. So then I'd just repeat it to her. I would say, thank you so much. Thank you so much for telling me that. How do they employ people that don't know medical terminology?
Right.
And you're talking to a provider. What?
They didn't tell him either. Like she's like, for PCOS, she was like spelling it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. So that I was, giving her a little like medical terminology, like 101. I think she was just thrilled that I was being nice to her. But I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
So then from her, then I went to an appeal person, which I thought she was.
Right.
Okay. She wasn't.
She was the receptionist that answered the phone.
Right. Yeah. She was just taking intake.
Hello, this is Peggy.
Yeah. And so then I'm talking to somebody else and she's typing like a million miles a minute. This lady, the other one that was the next one I was talking to, it was just and I'm like, whoa, she repeated everything back. And I thought,
Court stenographer.
I mean, she was typing way more than a court stenographer. No.
You mean to spell that for you, like that lady on the...
No, I know what it is. But those are just like shorthand things.
Right.
Yeah. So she was like, okay, well, thank you. We will let you know in, 2 to 3 weeks on the determination. I'm like, why did I just spend 30 minutes on the phone with you if I'm not going to find out? I thought we were doing this over the phone. Oh, no. Sorry, ma'am. So now I have to wait. Now, again, this guy's going to be potentially out of meds for 3 or 4 weeks. Like, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just every day with us, the constant hassle. It is. And hassle.
It's like going to the state fair and you go to the Midway and you want to play a game and they're like, come and throw the ball in the hoop, but the hoop doesn't actually quite fit the ball.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that how those work?
Yeah.
And they're 11-foot rims, not 10-foot.
See?
This is a perfect example of why when people go to their primary for these GLP-1s, why they don't have time to deal with this and give it the full effort. Why it's better to go to you guys as a specialist.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. And I mean, I appreciate that we can manage it better. But at the same time, people will get irritated. Well, I've been talking about my weight for, X, Y, and Z, for so long for my doc. And then all of a sudden they say, well, you know what? Just go see Amy, and here I am. And I'm like, well, this is good though, because they don't have the time to deal and to help you advocate for yourself. And insurance companies now, there's so many hoops and we need to jump through them. And that's why we do what we do. But you have to understand it's a lengthy process. And unfortunately, we'll do what we can. Right.
Yeah, right. It's a very lengthy process and it's crazy that they just keep adding to that process. Right.
Yeah. But I mean, recently, we did, there are a
is
few
a little bit
options.
of a silver lining.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We do have a couple oral medications. One is Contrave, that I actually recently have been prescribing. Go ahead.
Feel free to sponsor us, Contrave.
Yes, please.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I feel like the oral medications oftentimes they're just in the shadows because, we have all these the limelight now and everything is all the GLP-1 injectables.
Right.
But those aren't for everyone, not only because maybe they're contraindicated or price, know. So we have to figure out what are some other options potentially for our patients, right? So some of the oral ones are decent. And I'll be the first to admit I haven't always gone to them first because people normally come in name calling and name dropping meds,
yes,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm like, all right, well, yes, they qualify. This is going to be helpful once they kind of meet some of my standards that I need prior to, prescribing. All right, yeah, we'll go with that. But I mean, again, sometimes maybe we need to start tiering up a little bit, just tier 1, tier 2, I don't know, and see what happens. So anyway, Contrave is one that, can be reasonably priced. And now, Zepbound is the other one.
Zepbound, right, which is tirzepatide, right?
They are
by
Lilly.
They came out with their single dose vials, which are very helpful and more reasonably priced.
Yep.
For patients who are insurance doesn't cover weight loss medications for them, be it Medicare, Medicaid.
Yeah, just doesn't go through insurance.
It doesn't go through insurance. No prior authorization is needed. No.
But it is funny though, because months ago, remember we saw it like on the insert of the medication. It was talking about the vials.
Oh yeah, but
and
they were only in Europe.
They were always hush about it. No, we're not getting my vials. I'm like, there's no way
that's in your printed material.
Yes, and then lo and behold, they come out with it.
Yes.
So good for them though. I mean, it's still expensive, but much
the
better.
cash pay model still need to go through a provider, right, who will prescribe it and send it to Lilly Direct Pharmacy. It has to go to Lilly Direct. It doesn't go to any Walgreens, CVS, local pharmacy, nothing has to go right to Lilly Direct. And it's the real medication, not compounded medication. You get a vial, you get the option to, they send the needles along with it for you to draw it up out of the vial. They are single dose vials, meaning for a month they would send you 4 vials. So for instance, they only have right now they're only dosing it at the 2.5 milligram and the 5 milligram. And so let's say I was prescribing it for you, I would send it to Lilly Direct, the 2.5 milligram vials. You send it there, they contact, right? Their steps is then they contact, submit it, then they contact and pay for it, however that's done. And it's cash right through Lilly Direct, cash pay pharmacy, and then Lilly sends it to you.
Yeah.
To the patient, not to you, but yeah.
And I've had a couple people that have used it so far. It's great. Again, it's just another option, and it's good too for, like you said, our Medicare patients, if they don't qualify, because truly they have to be pretty darn sick to qualify for weight loss medications for Medicare.
Yes, you have to have a few different things that we talked about.
And you, being in Wisconsin, Medicaid, we talked about that. We're not going to go into it, but your patients have to, you deal with that stuff. I don't deal with Medicaid, but still there's a lot of requirements and Medicare, again, like I said, I probably have maybe 10 patients I've had qualify for it. So, but again, they're pretty sick to begin with, So this will, for those who aren't, but are still obese, and are struggling with the disease of obesity, right? They are able to find some relief if they can, pay for it.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that these single dose vials by Lilly Zepbound are the same price, if not cheaper, than going to a compounding pharmacy. I had a friend go to a compounding pharmacy, and it was all great for the first month that they started off for $199 and some needles and blah blah blah. But by the time he went up to like third month, it was like $550, $600, and for that you can get these single dose vials. And if you have a commercial insurance, both Wegovy and Zepbound have their coupons online that while your insurance may not cover them, with these coupons, it'll bring it down to, what is it, $650?
Yeah.
Right, the new one, $650. Both of them are roughly on $650, which, by the way, yes, I understand. Hear me when I say this. I get that's still crazy expensive. That's more than my car payment. I get it. But you have people on paying very close to the compounded med for the same price. So my thought is, if I'm paying for and I'm putting my air quotes up, and this is me, guys, fake med for $5.99, I'm paying $6.50 for the real deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You're not paying for a branded med.
That's what I choose to do. Yeah.
Absolutely. The most recent one I heard was sorry, Mike, were you going to talk? $120 per week, per shot.
Oh, I heard that too.
Like that's
For the compounded medication.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's $480.
What's the vials cost per month? $3.99?
Yeah, so the only Zepbound. So Zepbound again they start off at the 2.5 milligram dose, and that's $3.99 a month. And then the 5 milligram dose, which is again 4 vials, right, once a week, is $5.49. And so those are again for people for anybody. You don't have to,
Yeah. As long as you qualify for it. Yeah. So I think bottom line is, slowly but surely, things are improving, but it's still going to take a while. And, there still is a lot of bias, surrounding obesity and its treatment, and, really seek out assistance from, specialists that's what they do.
Ask your primary care provider to send you to a weight loss specialist within the organization that you are seeking treatment through, right? First and foremost. And secondly, if your employer doesn't cover weight loss meds, ask them why they do not see obesity as a chronic disease. Because I'm telling you guys, don't go to Blue Cross Blue Shield, or your insurance company and say, why aren't you covering this?
It's not them.
It is your employer, or go to your HR, because they've opted out of the choice for obesity coverage, and ask them why they don't see this as a chronic disease. You'd be surprised what happens sometimes.
Yeah, I've actually even had people go to HR, and although they didn't want to opt in for coverage, like
they still covered that person.
Yep.
I've had a few like that too.
Yep. So, I mean, you have to be your own advocate.
You have to be your own advocate. We can only do so much for you. Like you said, talk to Peggy in Mumbai, then be transferred somewhere and talk to someone else, but ultimately, if you're not your own advocate,
Yeah. And it starts at your employer.
Yeah.
That's where it starts.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
We're here to help any way we can. We're always willing to answer questions.
Also, go to some of these websites of places like Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, or the makers of Contrave, things like that, because some of them have savings programs that you can go right through them for as well, right? You just got to keep an eye on all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. But I think that's a wrap for this episode, and please let us know if there's any further questions or comments. We're always willing to answer them for you, and we're here as your advocate on this end.
Right in.
Yeah.
Let us know. Welcome in.
That's right.
Right? We're always here to answer your questions. Well, producer Mike will get your questions, and then we'll answer them. But
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But this is Amy and
Ben
on The Heavy Truth.
Yes.
Follow us on all our social media
All of the social
avenues.
medias.
Share and like.
Yes.
Until next time.
Until next time. Bye.
Bye.